I'm Cole Custer, and this is The Skinny.
From the Fatheads Eyewear Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. Brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, General Tire, and Dream Giveaway. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by General Tire. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3. Make your anywhere possible by visiting GeneralTire.com today. Welcome to The Skinny, ladies and gentlemen. Ken Stout and Rico sitting alongside. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Thank you. I didn't know if I was allowed anymore. Appreciate it.
How you feeling today?
Yeah. About the same as you. So, apparently somebody thought we had a lot better tolerance than we did last night.
For those listening in, we were out at the Speedway one day ago, and Rico has a suite outside of turn number 2, so we were watching IndyCar practice and had a good time and qualified, by the way. And
is that what they were doing? I heard a lot of
fairly
racket
convinced that we were overserved somewhere in the process, which was entirely not our fault.
Yeah, I would have never done it. I mean, I thought they were Shirley Temples.
We were just tuning up so we could welcome our guest Cole Custer into the show, in a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed way.
Yeah, that.
So speaking of that, we do have the 23-year-old in the house with us, known as the Everyday Man, and I like that. Where did that come from?
Just one of my friends pretty much made that up, pretty much. But thank you guys for having me on today. I haven't been on yet. I mean, I think I'm feeling a little bit better than you guys today. So
you certainly look better. But
that's on any day. But yeah.
Congrats, by the way, 2020 NASCAR Rookie of the Year. And if we take a look at the credentials, man, you blasted through the ranks as quick and I guess arguably based on the youngest NASCAR National Series winner in history, youngest NASCAR National Series person to win a pole, 18 and 19 years old, and then, of course, great success in the Xfinity Series. I know you missed a championship there, but runner-up a couple of times, and now up into Cup and 2020 Rookie of the Year. I mean, it doesn't – people can't accomplish that goal any quicker than what you did, man. That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a good stretch, I mean, it's one of those things we've had. I've been lucky enough to drive some really good cars and just, been able to take advantage of those opportunities. But, as a race car driver, we never want to stop. I mean, the next race is, how are we going to win? You're always thinking about the next one, about how you can win and how you can get back to victory lane.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point you'll reflect back on it, but certainly at your age, you're just hungry, man. I just got here. I'm just now in the game, so I want to make a name for myself inside of this game. And Rico, big weekend for us as well. You're sponsoring. This is Brickyard weekend, by the way, which is why Cole Custer is here in town. But we're also the $100,000 battles going on out at Lucas Oil Raceway tonight. I know you'll be out there as well. Very cool stuff. So the reason we have Cole in here, as I mentioned, Brickyard weekend, and you were over there on you guys pulled in yesterday, so you were on the course this morning, I think, practiced and ended up P13. Pretty good effort.
Yeah, I thought we had a pretty solid car, honestly. We unloaded, I think we were top 5, and we just gotta try and make sure that we optimize our day tomorrow was the biggest thing. Don't make mistakes. When you go to these road courses, I mean, everybody sees it. People are 3 and 4 wide, shoving each other off the racetrack. So if you can't kind of limit those big mistakes, I think we're going to end up pretty good.
What'd you think of the course itself? I mean, first time you guys have been on it.
Yeah, it was really fun actually. I mean, for how flat it is, there's not a ton of elevation change or a lot to throw you off there, but there's a lot of really cool corners that have a lot of grip. I mean, when you're on new tires, it feels like you're driving a go-kart around. I mean, it's fast. You're able to kind of flow right through it. So it's one of the most fun courses I've run around for sure.
It's going to be interesting, and I think it's exactly what you said. If people aren't shoving each other off the track and realize that there's a few laps to go before, like on lap 2 or whatever, they're not trying to ruin each other. So, but it's smooth. I've been around it. Of course, I've never been around it at that speed. His son, of course, Robert, which by the way, congratulations on
Thank you.
Nashville.
Nashville was good.
Robert in the super truck.
There's a lot of rough weekends in racing, but that was a good weekend. So first podium, first win, overall win, $10,000. That was a good day.
It's kind of like golf, where you're horrible the whole day, and then you
get that one shot.
You birdie or eagle the last hole, and you're like, I'm coming back. That's it.
We can do this, man. We can do it.
Yeah, I love
$10,000. We can make it to the next one now.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's interesting. I mean, one thing that's been pretty wild with you guys this year and Stuart Haas and everything is, my understanding is there's some decisions that had to be made in the beginning of the year. Could have went great, could have went another way. Didn't really go that great. Seems like you guys are starting to slowly recover from those decisions. And I think it had something to do with the chassis or something to do with whatever manufacturer the car was. And so I hate seeing that for you guys because, I do know, I know everybody that's there, of course, and it's hard to watch. It is very difficult to watch because I know there's nobody that wants to win any more than, any of you guys out there. So it just, how's that felt this year coming from where you were the year before? And
yeah, I mean, just like what you said, I mean, coming off last year, our team, I think, had 10 wins. And, we were riding a pretty good wave. I mean, with a lot of wins during a season and really looking good. And for me, we won a race last year, and it was I thought we were a top 15 team. When we ran good, we were top 10. And going into this year, it was kind of like, all right, how do we build off that? How do we try and build off that to be a top 10 team week in and week out and then win a couple more races? And going into this year, it was that just wasn't in the cards. It was, and
you got Chase that got plunged into it.
Yes.
Year one, it's like.
So it was just kind of, there were things that were changed through the rules from NASCAR that I think really affected the Fords, and our downforce just wasn't all there. And then without the practice and everything, you're trying to make decisions on how we overcome this, how we make it better. Well, sometimes you make it worse.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of those things we've worked so hard. I mean, I think everybody at Stuart Haas Racing has worked so hard and put in a lot of hours to try and make our cars go in the right direction. And I think we're finally getting there to where we're going in the right direction. It's just taken a half a year because you don't have the practice to really run through a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it's that way with, everything, as you can imagine. We have a big involvement in drag racing as well, and with fatheads, and everybody says, geez, how can Steve Torrance be that good? Well, you look at it when he's running rounds, more rounds than anybody else in a year. That's just data. That's data every time he takes a lap. So it's a tough thing. And like I said, it seems like you guys are making some headway here and there. So where did Chase end up?
I think he was 8th or 9th or something. I think we were pretty. All four of our cars, I think, were pretty solid today. So I think we're all pretty optimistic about tomorrow. I mean, it's one of those places. I mean, all the road courses, if you can get mechanically the car right, I mean, it's kind of an equalizer. If you can it brings the driver a little bit more into play. So everything still has to be working right, but it can be a little bit of an equalizer, I think, for everybody for sure.
We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back with more information on the driver, the number 41 Ford Mustang for Stuart Haas Racing. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Rhino Classifieds. Tired of all those ads and random stuff that shows up when you're looking to buy or sell your car parts? Rhino Classifieds was created just for you. Welcome to a streamlined buying and selling app created by racers for racers and race fans. Modified cars, classic cars, race cars, that special big block you need, the trailer to move your baby around the country in. We got you at rhino.co. And welcome back to the Skinny. We have Cole Custer on here. Great to have him break away, if you will, from his very busy daily duties, really just on the race car, about 10 minutes away from here at the Speedway. Came over, swung by the studio. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate you taking the time. We know your time is valuable.
No, it's awesome. I mean, it's cool to, just be in this center of racing, I mean, it's one of those things when you come to Indiana. I mean, I raced here a little bit when I was a little bit younger. And it's just one of those things when you come back, it just feels so down to earth. You remember what it was like as a kid. I think it just brings back all those memories of, why you love racing.
Last year, did you get a chance to run the oval last year?
Yeah, we did. I think we actually finished third. Yeah, we ran pretty decent.
Yeah,
wow, really?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
that's incredible.
You ran pretty well.
So you've done both. So that's pretty cool. You had that opportunity because at least rumor that we're hearing is that opportunity probably won't come around again.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm really lucky to be able to say I've run on the oval in the Cup Series, and it's one of those things. I think it's really prestigious to run on the oval, but it just for us, I don't know if it really felt right those last five or so years. It just the excitement I don't think was there for the fans. It was just one of those things that I think it's really cool that they're just going to run the Indy cars there, keep the prestige at the racetrack. I think we put on some really good racing on the road course, and I think it's one of those things that's just going to be better for everybody. And I think it's going to be more exciting for the fans, and also I think it's going to keep a lot of prestige at the Oval.
So 4 cars on the Stewart-Haas team, and you were talking about all of you guys practiced fairly well there this morning. I'm curious when, coming out of the world of sports cars, and I don't know if you've had any opportunity to do, say, like the 24 Hours of Daytona, but they come back with a ton of data that they gather from those cars. Do you guys do that during practice? Do you cross over? I mean, can you take a look at the lines, take a look at brake traces and steering input, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually have data that's on our cars. So we can look at right after practice pretty much what Kyle Larson is doing, what people on our team are doing, what I'm doing, and we can compare against anybody. So,
really? So you can actually see other teams' data?
Yeah, we can see everybody.
There are no
I
did not know that.
Anymore.
Wow,
Yeah, I did not know that.
I thought it was all internal.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you could see everybody's stuff.
Yeah, you can see everybody. So it's you try and compare as much as you can, and it's definitely a good tool. Of being able to see where you're losing time. And, sometimes it's a bad tool because, they're telling you, man, like, pick up time right here. Like, what are you doing? It's like, I can't do it. I can't go any faster.
Yeah.
So what I like about that...
The car is not going to let me do that.
What I like about that is because you said the rule book had changed a bit and felt like it put you guys at a bit of a disadvantage, the Fords, I should say, from last year. But given that all of that data is available to everybody, that has to make it so easy to go right back up into the office and say, here's proof, guys. Here's what you did to us, and this is why we're not competitive.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. It's just another tool, like you said. I mean, that you can use and look at the data, and it helps the engineers and the crew chiefs they can really live time see it like, this is where he's struggling right now. This is what we need to make better. So, and sometimes it can get lost in translation when you're looking at so much data, but it's one of those things that can definitely kind of make the process easier because you can see it right on the screen.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I mean, in sports car world, they call it BOP, right? The balance of performance, and it's kind of what they're doing to you guys.
Yeah, a little bit. It's different because, NASCAR, I wouldn't say is, adding weight to cars or, slowing one motor down
that aggressive,
the other.
sure,
It's not as aggressive, but there are things that I think, you want to have as much equality through the manufacturers as you can.
So I'm going to shift gears on you just a little bit. Your father is Joe Custer, president at Stewart-Haas Racing and chief operating officer for the F1 team. How cool is that? So you grew up in the middle of this deal.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the garage area. I mean, since I was 5 years old, walking around in there. So, for me, when I was 5 years old, I mean, I had I didn't think I could ever be at this level. It's just, I looked at those guys like Tony and, Kevin and all these guys I'm racing against now. I thought they were gods, like I was.
Well, they are in the industry. I mean, they really are.
They really are.
Yeah.
But
they are in their own mind too.
And especially and like at that time too, early 2000s. I mean, the sport was on such a high level. So many fans. It was just crazy. So growing up at that era was really cool to kind of see your heroes and grow up, and now you're kind of racing against them.
So being so close to the F1 team, any desires there at all to, if nothing else, like maybe nudge Dad and say, man, can you at least get me a test session?
It'd be pretty sweet. I mean, I think everybody wants to drive an F1 car. I mean, Tony got to do it. Jeff got to do it. It's just one of those things. It's so much different, such a foreign, probably as different as you can get from a stock car. When you look at our motorsports, I guess I would say. So being able to run that as a driver would be really cool. But I think there's very few tests and there's a lot of money involved. So it's one of those things. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I think what he's saying is his dad still has to answer to
his
Gene.
dad's looking at him saying, yeah, great idea, son, but that one's probably not going to happen.
Hey, why don't you go take that up with Gene and let me know how it works out,
I look at that and listen, man, we all know Gene is pretty far from broke.
Yeah.
And he gets over there in that F1 game, and it has been difficult to say the least. I think when they first got there, they were a top 10
exactly.
team,
but here's an interesting thing, and he told Tony the business that he gained, and you probably know this is better than anyone with your dad, but the business that he picked up going over there to do that was unbelievable. And I mean, it's much like Forrest Lucas when they sponsored Lucas Oil Stadium. I remember him telling me specifically, he goes, it was wild. They sold almost more stuff outside the United States than they did in, like their market share outside versus what they were doing here was bigger because you had all of these, countries where people keep their cars forever, so they wanted to fix it things, right? Well, when they went on the stadium, then, you're getting all those impressions. And of course, that's what we're trying to get, right? Just like Ford, just like, Haas, whoever. You're trying to get the impressions of people seeing your name and it becoming more of a household thing, right? And, but it's pretty wild. The story was pretty neat just to hear how much, and I mean, it's no joke. I mean, I remember Toyota telling me that I think that their budget was $800 million a year for F1.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
It's insane.
$800 million. And the Grosjean guy is the one that hammered. He was a Haas guy, right?
Yeah, he was.
And he's the one that hit the guardrail.
Yeah.
Caught on fire.
That was wild. I mean, it was just
yeah, I mean, like you
there.
said, though, I mean, when you think of, Haas Automation, Gene Haas, I mean, it's made in the USA. Ventura, California is when they're made. So being able to get into F1 stuff, like you said, like it did kind of push it into the European kind of space and into that market. So I think that was definitely kind of a pretty big gain for them for sure.
Has your dad been with them for some time? I mean, other
things? My dad was actually, I mean, they kind of met through business, but my dad was actually racing sprint cars at Paris.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's awesome.
Okay. All right.
He's not good.
He's not.
I don't know if he made an A main. But it was,
he was still doing it.
He was doing
it. He was still doing it.
But so they met in the 90s and they've kind of had their relationship since then and went cup racing and, the story just came to now.
And that's where you were born and raised in California, right?
Yep.
Southern California.
Yep.
And when did you start racing out there?
I started racing when I was 5 in quarter midgets.
Okay. Quarter midgets. So were you the one hanging your head out the side of it?
Yep. I don't know if I was extreme as some of those kids. I mean,
it seems a little dangerous, by the way.
It seems like some people have lost the lean. I feel like when you see quarter midget racing now, they've stopped leaning as much. But
it's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. I mean,
better for self-preservation.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Exactly.
But that's one of the coolest things about quarter midget racing, I'd say.
Yeah.
So as you worked your way up through the ranks, K&N, obviously the trucks, Xfinity. There was a couple of moments. You always have moments whenever you're working your way up through oval track stuff, but there's been a couple of spicy moments along your career with Tyler Reddick and John Hunter Nemechek, and you've certainly proven to be a scrappy individual when it's called for.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever anybody's in those situations where you're in the fight to win, or points and championships are on the line. I mean, I think one of the things that's awesome about our sport are the playoffs. It just brings so much chaos and so much emotion into the sport, really. So I think when you see that and you get, wronged or you feel like, somebody took you out, I mean, or cost you a chance in your team to win or move on into the playoffs, I mean, you're going to show your displeasure in that, I mean, you have to. I mean, if you don't do that, you're just going to kind of get pushed around. So it's one of those things sometimes you just gotta, it's part of the sport. You gotta stick up for yourself sometimes.
Yeah, and as you said it really well. I mean, the emotions run so high. But for the fans at home, what is that like whenever you're actually at the racetrack? I know you get out of the car or in the moment. I mean, everybody's fired up. It's impossible to put into words how high the emotions are, the adrenaline pumping whenever you're inside of one of those cars, and wanting to react to the situation. But as a few hours pass and you're at the racetrack, or you're at the track the following week with the same guys, you're all rubbing shoulders, man. You're walking by each other. 9 times out of 10, does it get settled, or what does it take for that thing to? I mean, it's going on right now with Larson and Bell. I think 2 of the best friends, in the midget sprint car world, and now, at least rumor is, Bell doesn't even really want to talk to him. So, I mean, I guess it can't hit a point where the conversation stop.
I think they were best friends until the Chili Bowl deal.
Yeah, it started at the Chili Bowl.
It started at the Chili Bowl when Kyle
Bowl.
drove around him. And listen, I know them both, I mean, pretty well. So, I mean, but that was a pretty tough pill. And Kyle didn't do anything wrong to him, but he definitely drove around him there with that unit.
Well, I think it was just at Watkins Glen where they got together, if I'm not mistaken. So,
I mean, it's one of those things. It depends on how it was handled, at that moment, and it depends on the 2 people involved and how bad the situation was. I mean, every single situation is different. So, if it's one of those things where you feel like they didn't make it up to you, or they don't feel sincere, or you're still gonna owe them one. So you're gonna take that with you.
How hard is it to, let's just say, you get in a scrap with somebody after the race, you two, I mean, maybe you throw down after the end of the race. You wait a couple of days, you see each other, say, hey, man, I watched the videotape. You watch the videotape. Man, I don't agree with what you did, but I see why you did it. Let's just agree to disagree. And you guys shake hands and you walk away. Invariably, at the end of that race, that'll be the guy that's right in front of you. Do you really let it go, or if the opportunity's there, you're like, here it comes, pal?
Depends on the situation, but you're probably gonna remember, whether
it's gonna come back to you pretty well at that point.
It's gonna come back, yeah. So it's you're gonna race that guy a little harder. I mean, if it's that bad, you might move him out of the way or do what you got to do. But that's how it always works out, though. Whenever you have a dust up with anybody, you're usually riding in the truck, with them in driver ring shows the next week. That's how it was. I mean, literally,
Right.
me and John Hunter, right after that, the next week, we rode in the same truck after. So it's how it always works out.
What did you think of the dirt at Bristol?
It was cool. I don't know. I wish, was that a real dirt track, I would say.
You mean still, like Eldora?
Yeah. Yes.
Like Eldora, that was promised that they would get the first cup race if they did the tree. Anyhow, go ahead.
Eldora is a really good race for the trucks. But I think it's just one of those things that was really cool. I mean, being able to, take a 3,400-pound stock car and put it on dirt and having to dodge ruts and, see how the track changes and account for that. And all our guys who have never dirt raced before, try to figure it out, so it's really cool. I mean, I think there are things that can be better for next year with the visibility and all the dust and how the track was prepped in a few ways. But I think it was a knock out of the park. I think having the dirt,
you guys
cars go back on dirt.
By the time you guys got on, it felt like the track was actually pretty cool, and it was a fun race to watch. There was so much weather that preceded that race in the previous weeks. Those guys really dealt with some pretty rough conditions before you guys got to it.
I was there. It flooded.
Yeah.
It flooded Earhart Campground, which is where we were set with our merch trailer. And literally in the middle of the night, they had to hook onto our trailer and pull it across the road to higher ground because that's where people were on kayaks and all that. That's where we were parked at. I mean,
we have glasses here as they float by.
Yeah, right. We got ponchos. I mean, you'd be drenched getting here to get them, but
Hey, we're going to take a quick break here. We still have plenty more coming your way. Cole Custer is with us. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Dream Giveaway. Dream Giveaway has been giving away high-end American muscle cars to raise money for charity since 2007. Dream Giveaway is known for giving away classic and new muscle and paying the federal taxes so the winners don't have to. For $25, you can jump in the game, and part of that goes to charity. You'll have a chance at winning some of the coolest cars on the planet. Check it out at dreamgiveaway.com. Once again, welcome back to the Skinny. We have Cole Custer in the house, driver of the number 41 Ford Mustang for Stewart-Haas Racing, and been able to chat with him a little bit as he's getting his career going at the Cup level here, second year doing that. As we take a look back at you picking your way up through the ranks, I wanted to ask you a question because 2014, you joined Haas Racing Development. So you were a development driver for them. As you progressed forward, you ended up driving for JR Motorsports or Junior Motorsports, and then 17 came back to Stewart-Haas. Tell us about that transition. How did that all work?
Yeah, I mean, so we were racing trucks, and we were getting trucks from Turner Scott, and Turner Scott actually went out of business. So we did a deal with JRM, and we kind of was able to work in their program, and it was really cool to be able to work with Dale and Kelly and everybody over there. I mean, it's a great organization. And then actually Stewart-Haas moved over to Ford right there. And so we moved over to Ford and started getting the Xfinity stuff going, and that's pretty much what happened.
So were there talks? Was your father there at the time when you were a development driver?
Yes, yeah.
So were there talks? I mean, did you think that you would just settle in right there and come right up through the ranks as part of the Haas in the Stewart-Haas organization? Were you surprised that you went somewhere else?
At the time, SHR didn't have a Xfinity team or anything, so it was kind of, didn't really know what was going to happen really, and you're just kind of looking for a place where you can kind of develop and get better and win some races. So I think, at the time it was just kind of, go wherever you can kind of win. I
always loved the name, by the way, Cole Custer. Cole Custer in the 00 car to me just screams NASCAR. It was the greatest ever, man, and it brought back great memories to me as well. When I was a little kid, I grew up in Clearwater, Florida, and in that Tampa Bay area, the Rudimans. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but the Rudimans came up there, and Buzzy Rudiman used to have the 00, and he was legendary. He was a good bit older than I was, but
David Rudiman.
Yeah, David Rudiman. I think
the
might have been the grandson of Buzzy.
He drove the 00, Aaron's Dream Machine.
But that's Dream Machine. But that was the 00 to me. So whenever I saw that pop back up, and like Cole Custer, I'm like, that stuff dreams and movies are made of right there. I mean, that's just a great combination. So why get away from the 00?
It's just you don't care what the number is. You're gonna drive whatever.
Just put me in a car.
Yeah, if it's a Cup car, you're gonna run it.
Right.
But
because that's the number they already owned. Yeah. All right, was the 41, not the 00 in Cup. So.
But the 00, I mean, Haas CNC Racing in the early 2000s, they had a Busch team, and Jason Leffler drove for it, and Johnny Sauter, and I was a really big fan of Jason. He kind of grew up in the same area as I was, and I think he raced at the same quarter midget track and everything. So I was a fan of Jason, and he ran the 00 Haas car. So
I forgot that he was in that.
That's why I always liked that number.
Ever have any admiration or any desire to run the Chili Bowl?
I ran a little bit of midget stuff, mostly like Ford Focuses when I was a teenager, and you can get in a late model younger than you can a full midget. So I never really got a chance to really run full midgets all that much, but there was nothing more fun than running open wheel dirt cars. I mean, there is nothing that you can say that can top that, honestly. I don't think.
Well, get your teammate to put you in one.
I know. I want to get back into it. It's just you're obviously always running around and you're trying to give everything you can to the Cup deal, trying to make it and trying to make sure you're giving your team everything you can. But it is something. I mean, if I was gonna do anything, I'd want to go midget racing. It's a really cool car to drive.
So I got to ask you a quick question. How much interaction do you have with Tony Stewart, as a boss? And does he come in and, I mean, do you pick his brain about some stuff?
Well, it's actually been pretty cool since, COVID's gotten better the last, 4 or 5 months or so. So he's been able to kind of come to the racetrack actually more, and it's been pretty cool. I mean, he's been pretty involved. He's gone to the comp meetings recently and kind of really, he's been trying to figure out, how to help us, and it's awesome to have Tony as a boss, honestly, because you can sit down and you can talk to him about these problems we have or what we need to do to do better. And he's been there, he's done that, he understands it, and he knows how to help. So it's one of those things. He's a great guy to help steer the ship in the right direction.
So before we wrap things up here, I've got to ask you a question. You had a street sign when you came here to Indianapolis. How cool was that?
I need to go see it. I still haven't seen it, so I need to rip that thing down. do they hand them out to you? What do they do?
We'll get it for you.
Yeah, stand by. Let's get past Sunday.
Yeah.
See if we can't make that happen. No, it's pretty cool. I saw a number of the drivers, the IndyCar drivers as well, down there having photos and stuff taken next to their street signs. So I didn't know if you had a chance to get downtown and do that or not.
Even Sunshine has one.
Does he?
Winning the BC 39.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Great moment. Man, we want to wish you the best of luck. Hope you have a great time out there on the road course. It certainly seems like a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully we get these fatheads in victory lane.
So that'll wrap things up here with Cole Custer. Make sure you keep an eye on the number 41 Ford Mustang. We wish him the best of luck throughout the rest of the year. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back on the other side, Michael Young, the track dude, has some great stuff with Chase Elliott. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Skinny would like to thank Delta Faucet for the following portion of the program.
So happy to have the driver of the number 9 Hooters Chevrolet from Hendricks Motorsports with us, Chase Elliott. Chase, not only a great welcome to Indianapolis, but what a great view we have of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a view of turns 7, 8, 9, and 10, and a very different race. The race fans will see this race weekend. The Verizon 200 here at the Brickyard. You guys will be racing on Sunday. A completely different game. We're going from the oval to the road course. You have been very successful on the road course this year, but a completely different thing. And we were talking briefly before the interview, whole different vibe coming into Indianapolis.
Yeah, definitely it feels different for sure. It's still Indy. I think there's definitely still a major, you know how special it is. The atmosphere here is still very, the racing history is just so rich here. It's hard for it not to feel special. But it certainly does feel like a little bit of a different event. But I think it was time to try something different. You know, I think our race here hasn't quite been what we want it to be over the last few years. I think it can be better. And the Xfinity guys put on a fantastic show at the road course last year. So I think it was time for us to give it a try and see what we can do.
Looking forward to it. And coming off the race at the Glen, a runner-up finish there. You come into the race this weekend, and after we're finished with that, a very special event Wednesday and Thursday, the BC 39 for the late Brian Clausen. You'll be running a midget car out in the quarter mile, which is down in turn 3. So a lot of racing down here.
Yeah, a lot of racing, and I'm excited about it. You know, I mean, it's like I said, well, first off, you know, I feel like Mr. Penske's done a fantastic job. We were just admiring the grass. So I'm sure the dirt track, he's done just as good of a job keeping it up and going too. But you know, this is an exciting week. You know, it's not every week I get to go race 3 or 4 times, you know, in 7 days. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll try to have some good runs. You know, this is going to be a challenge. I mean, I think a lot of people think about this road course and they just kind of assume everybody's going to adapt really fast and it be normal. But this place is super flat. It has no elevation. This is the first time I've seen it, you know, in person with the course laid out like it is for the road course here. So it's going to be a quick practice on Saturday, and you're going to have to learn really fast or you're going to get way behind in a hurry.
So you're a good student of the road courses, obviously, but some of the drivers entered this weekend have already run in the Xfinity race last year. Advantage for them?
I definitely think so. I mean, I think those guys having some laps on track, being in that repetition, and finding that flow. You know, I think road course racing is a lot about flow and kind of finding a rhythm. Those guys already have that. So absolutely, I think that's a huge advantage, you know, to be able to start practice where I think the majority of us that haven't been here are going to be working on trying to find a rhythm in the racetrack. Those guys can find the rhythm, you know, within the first 4 or 5 laps, and they can go start working on their car, which I think, you know, for me and most people is going to be more about learning the track. And that's kind of where my head's at currently.
I think the first time I saw you was in 2002 when your dad won here at the Brickyard. You're just a little, 6, 7 years old, right in that range roughly. And of course, the legendary Dawsonville, Georgia, where you come from. I actually hopped on Google Maps a little bit earlier today to see what Dawsonville was like. And you get down by the Dawsonville pool room, and I saw Bill's Country Kitchen on the outside of town. It's a really small town.
It is a small town. Dawsonville is grown a lot though, with kind of the way the land lays, and as Atlanta has expanded north, like everywhere else in the world, as towns grow, they've kind of grown and continue to come our direction, even as far outside of the city as we are. But it's home for me, and enjoy living there. I think it's a great area, and look forward to try to spend as many days as I can around there.
Georgia Racing Hall of Fame, also in Dawsonville, Georgia. You're a two-time recipient of Driver of the Year. You were in high school when that all happened. What was it like growing up for you, being part of that famous family, but in such a small town? Was there always a microscope on you, or did people just, oh, there's Chase, he's just wandering around? How did it go for you?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, a lot of family lives around Dawsonville, a lot of friends. So, I feel like if anywhere that no one really cares what I'm doing or what we're doing, racing or family or whatever, that's probably it. Just because we know a lot of folks there, they've been and have made a lot of great friends. So, I feel like they've always kind of let us do our thing and just enjoy living there like they do.
You got an athletic build to you. Were you a sports guy growing up in grade school, high school? Did you play anything else besides just driving a car?
Yeah, no, I started, I played, like football and baseball in middle school, but that was really about it. And I love sports. I, would have loved to have kept going. But as I got later into middle school, it just became hard with the schedule. And there was one year I wanted to try out for the baseball team, like 8th or 9th grade. But even if I made it, I was going to miss a bunch of games. So it was one of those things where, obviously I wanted to race and that was my focus. But at the same time, I did want to go do some of that stuff too. But, looking back, I'm completely cool with how everything's worked out and glad I took the time to go and race and enjoy that.
What position would you have played had you made the team?
That's a good question. I don't know. I might not have made the team. So I don't know. That's probably more of the reality of what it would have been.
It's funny looking back at this season, the beginning, Jeff Gordon had you on the broadcast and you played a prank on him over the PA. Now he's going to be the vice chairman of Hendricks Motorsports. He kind of threw you the baton and nurtured you in the start of your career. What's Jeff Gordon like, and what will it be like having him back? Well, he's never really left the Hendricks family, but having him back.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big thing is Jeff hasn't really ever left. He's always been around and kept a good check on things and is very aware of what's going on. He's always kind of had that role. So to be honest, I'm not sure what all is going to change next year when he officially steps into that role. I feel like he's already doing a lot of those things now. And I think probably just to maybe help that transition be easier for him, I'm not sure. But so far he's been easy to work with. And at the end of the day, he is a racer and he understands what it's like on the racing side of things from a driver's point of view, which is good. And that's a good thing to have some experience in leading and help point us in the right direction. So from my day-to-day perspective, I'm not sure much changes because I feel like he's already involved and he's very up to speed on things.
If fans did not see the prank you played, Jeff's trying to do the intro, and it looks like he was already struggling with it a little bit anyhow. And then somebody comes over the public address and ruins it every time.
Yeah.
Was that your idea?
That was not my idea, but it was. He impressed me that day because I really thought he was going to get mad, but he kept it cool. So we'll have to try to get him better next time.
SRX race, Nashville, a couple of weeks back. You got to race with your father. You end up winning the race. Your dad got on the podium with you. That sensation of racing your dad, I don't think I've seen him drive harder than he did in that race.
I'm telling you, he was on it. And he impressed me. I thought he did a great job, number one, but we just had so much fun. That's not something we've had an opportunity to do a ton of. And when that opportunity came along, it was really something that I couldn't say no to. I had to make that work, and we really just had a blast with it. And it was a good show too. I mean, he and I were, the way it worked out, we raced hard for that first heat race win. And then, I thought he and I were going to be racing for the win of the feature there in the closing lap. So overall, it was just a good event. And then two, obviously to show some support to the fairgrounds. The future of that place is certainly kind of up in the air. I don't know that anyone really knows where it's headed. But what a great facility and a great town, a town that is just eager and hungry for a NASCAR race. And I look forward to, trying to continue to show my support, and hopefully it makes a difference. I would love to see NASCAR back at the fairgrounds.
With you being the reigning Cup champion, your dad winning it back in '88, was that kind of a full circle moment, as small of an event as that was, even though it was on national television, to be able to race your dad like that, watching him race?
Yeah, I mean, different, right? Because I wasn't around for a lot of his heyday through the 80s. So really the memories I have of my dad's racing were the early 2000s with Ray, and, vague memories of his win here. That's really all I got to look back on with his career. So, but those were the years that made me want to go race. When I think about him and, his number 9 car, I think about the red Dodge number 9 that Ray fielded and that they did out of Statesville. So I guess everybody kind of grows up in a different time, and certain things remind you of different periods. But that was kind of the period that made me want to get into it, made me want to start racing. But that SRX event was just all around fun, and Tony and Ray have done a good job with it, and people love it. I mean, the energy and excitement at Nashville was impressive. I was impressed, and people really showed up, and they showed out.
As young as you are, you've done so many impressive things on the racetrack, but the Chase Elliott Foundation off the racetrack, very impressive as well. How did that come about?
Yeah, I feel like I need to give my mom a lot of the credit on the foundation side of things. She's always tried to make sure we stay grounded and help people where we can. And our foundation has really been centered more with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. We've got a good relationship with those folks. They have a network of hospitals in the area that is bar none the best place to send your kid for a number of different reasons. But beyond that, they're just good people to work with. They do a really good job. If I had a kid, that would 100% be where I wanted to take them to have whatever done. So for us, we don't do a ton, but it certainly we try to do what we can. And we've had a couple of cool initiatives over the years with Design to Drive. We let the kids design some shoes, and we basically turn the shoes into our actual race car driving shoes. Then myself and my 3 teammates have been wearing them and washing them off, do cool stuff like that. We have another one coming along this year I'm excited to share here soon. So, it's been a lot of fun.
We'll dial back into the racing before we let you go. Obviously, the Verizon 200 coming up Sunday, but the BC 39, which we touched upon briefly at the top of the show. Midget race, you did the Chili Bowl. Brian Clausen, a legend in that whole era of racing, Silver Crown and the midget and the sprint cars. Did you know Brian?
I never had a chance to meet Brian. Obviously, I knew who he was, and I had just started to get into being a fan of sprint car racing and midget racing and starting to keep up with that kind of thing. Not too terribly long before he passed away. So I didn't have a chance to watch him as much as I wish I had, looking back on it, but obviously have a ton of respect for what he accomplished. And beyond that, it seems like he was a stand-up individual, which obviously is the most important thing. But excited to be a part of the event. It seems like a great event, an event that's grown, and an event for honoring a good person too.
What is it like to drive a midget car compared to a cup car?
Yeah, they're just different. I mean, obviously one being on dirt, one being on asphalt. That's probably the biggest difference in them is just the track surface. For me, I didn't really grow up doing a lot of dirt racing. And what little bit I've done is kind of the handful of races I've been a part of. One's been in North Carolina, one's been in Oklahoma, another one's been in Kansas. So as you travel around to these different places, the dirt is different and it has different tendencies. Dirt might act differently in Georgia or North Carolina versus how it does out in Oklahoma or up here. So I think that's what makes those guys really good. I mean, obviously they're great race car drivers, but traveling around the country for years and knowing how this dirt acts and what it likes, and it makes a big difference. So yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a challenge.
Someone had a question. How long do you think the race is going to take on Sunday?
Time-wise?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, typically our events are, 3.5 hours is kind of the number we always use. But like last week was way shorter than that. I think that race was like 2 hours or just a little over 2 at Watkins Glen. So, if you don't have any cautions and things go green, it can go by quick. But typically 3 hours is a pretty safe bet.
Two-stopper?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I think you're probably going to end up having to stop 3 times when it's all said and done. But, it's you never know how the race is going to play out and how many caution laps you get and things like that.
People are already picking you as the favorite in this race. Good feeling, bad feeling? Does that, obviously, I don't know if it puts pressure on you, but it's good to know people think, well, Chase is probably going to be the guy to go to.
It might tell you how maybe I don't know if they've been paying attention or not, because I've never been here. So that makes a big difference, so I'd be careful with that one, because I know absolutely nothing about this track. And like I said, I've never even made a lap on it. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be a fun weekend. It's going to be a weekend that goes by quick. That practice session is going to be crucial on Saturday, and we got to make sure we get all of it.
Well, you've always been a quick study. We wish you all the best this race weekend, not only in the Verizon 200, but the BC 39 on Wednesday and Thursday. Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
That's Chase Elliott, driver of the number 9 Hooters entry, the Chevrolet for Hendricks Motorsports.
Thanks for being with us here on The Skinny. This episode has been brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, Dream Giveaway, and General Tire. For the latest in sunglasses, optical frames, accessories, and apparel, be sure to check out fatheads.com. That's Fatheads with a Z. Production facilities provided by Fatheads Eyewear Studios. All rights reserved.